What is going on, everybody? It's your boy John, and welcome back to Gearbox. So today we got a great video for you. If you are in the market for a Ford Raptor, please do not click away from this video. I feel, at least, that this will be very informative for you. So hopefully it is. If it is, give this video a like. It's not hard. You just click a button and you go from there. But I digress. Of course, a Ford Raptor is not the cheapest truck on the market by a long shot, I guess. But I wanted to go through kind of my numbers, what I did, how I got this truck, and ultimately what the monthly payment came out to be, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so for starters, if you are unaware or new to the channel, I started off with a 2019 Ford F-150 XLT. It was a great truck, had no problems with it necessarily, but my wife and I ultimately decided that it was time to kind of upgrade a little bit. We were able to afford it, so let's go ahead and make a purchase and get a better truck. Really, in terms of better, what we were looking for was mainly for my wife. You know, she's comfortable driving big trucks. This was lifted. It had the 6.5 foot bed instead of the 5.5 foot bed, but she didn't feel comfortable like parking it or anything because it was so big and it lacked the technology, you know, that she's used to in her BMW, and wants to drive the truck, you know, go to Home Depot, pick some stuff up, or go to the grocery store, whatever, or just drive a bigger vehicle around. You know, if you're not used to driving a big vehicle, especially going back and forth from a small vehicle to a big vehicle, sometimes it's maybe hard to understand that, but when you do it day in and day out, there is definitely a benefit. So that's kind of why we started looking. Now, ultimately, we found this Raptor. So once again, for those who are unaware, this is a 2024 Ford F-150 Raptor in the Avalanche paint code. And we found this up in Asheville. So it's about an hour away. Checked all the boxes that my wife and I were looking for, and really just set an appointment to go look at it on a Saturday. And of course, you know, with it being an hour away, we kind of went up there with the intention to buy said truck. Now, for starters, this truck was lightly used. It was at a Porsche dealership in Asheville. So apparently the owner traded in the Raptor and got a like Cayman or something like that, which is an odd switch up for me, but not my problem. It's now my truck, so I don't care. But they just decided it wasn't for them. Now, this truck was listed at this Porsche dealership for $82,500. Now, initially, and still to this day, I mean, that is an expensive truck, don't get me wrong. But when I saw the number, I was like, babe, I don't know. I mean, we've got a truck that's paid off. Why would we do that? So on and so forth. And once again, as I said at the beginning of the video, it just, part of it was let's go ahead and treat ourselves, but at the same time it was let's get an updated truck, let's get out of the 10R80 transmission debacle that at least the 2019 F-150s falls into. I know this has the same transmission, but it has been tampered with in some way, shape, or form. So there were a couple different reasons, both from a luxury perspective as well as a day-to-day driving perspective, that made us go look at this truck. Now, with an $82,500 price tag, I was a little bit skeptical, but went up and looked at it nonetheless. Now, of course, with this truck, we were not going to be purchasing said truck without a trade-in. Now, the trade-in that we used for this truck was, of course, my 2019 F-150. And upon getting to the dealership, they were very pleased with the shape that truck was in. It was maybe 74,000 miles, something along those lines. Had some mods to it which is surprising enough, a dealership actually gave a shit about. I had just put a bed liner, like spray in Rhino Line or Line-X bed liner in there. So there were some things that kind of bumped the value of it to them, which I was very glad to hear. Now, ultimately, they ended up giving me $24,000 for that 2019 F-150, which, to be honest with you guys, I was shocked by. It was a good truck. It was in good shape. It had the mods done to it. It had the bed liner. It had the ceramic coating. It had the lift, had the wheels, had the tires. You know, it was a very easy truck. If I were them, I would think it was a very easy truck to take on a trade and be able to sell that inventory and move that inventory off their lot rather quickly, right? So that was surprise number one. Now, surprise number two going into this, after going ahead and test driving this truck and ultimately falling in love with the Raptor, we had some extra financing available. And what I mean by that is I brought a check for $40,000 to put down toward this truck. With that being said, a $40,000 cash deposit onto whatever is a lot of money. But what I will say is my wife and I live very frugally, I would say, to a degree. Now, some of y'all might argue that buying an $80,000 truck is not frugal, but what I chalk it up to is this is my hobby, this is my passion. I like driving different things, cool things, whatever. And this is something that both she and I are going to get full usage out of. So let's go ahead and basically invest in ourselves, right? So we have the $24,000 trade-in. We have the 40 grand of cash deposit on the Raptor. And that left us financing around $18,500. Now, some people might say, if you're financing $18,500, why would you do that? You know, go ahead and pay cash for the rest of it. Could I have done that? Yeah, probably. Did I want to? No. Now, also keep in mind, the intention with financing $18,500 is not to go ahead and just keep that loan for as long as, you know, the duration of the loan. I wanted to pay it off early, but I also wanted to keep some cash free for some other things that my wife and I were doing around the house and all that sort of stuff. And yes, of course, we're paying monthly, but it's not $18,500 additional out of our bank account. So with that being said, that $18,500 loan came out to an interest rate of about 7.3%. Got a good credit score. I got all that stuff. You know, I was never worried about the interest rate, especially, once again, because I intended to pay it off early. But that is something to keep in mind. Now, once it was all said and done, what this truck came out to be was a monthly cost of about $260-ish a month. Now, with the $260 a month payment, we also need to take into consideration insurance. So surprisingly enough for me, you know, I'm 27 years old. I do have a good driving history, but being 27, I feel like insurance companies just look at a white dude who's 27 and think there's no way in hell that guy is going to be worth insuring, so we're going to jack up his pricing. With that being said, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm paying $120 a month for insurance on this truck with my wife and I, so my wife definitely helps out in that category. But really, relative to the old truck to this truck, it was maybe $20 a month additional, which once again, I was baffled by the thought of that. I thought this would be like Supra territory, or of course, if you go up into any crazier types of cars, trucks, whatever, it would be a little bit more. But for, let's call it a big round even number of $400 a month, this truck was mine. And all that being said, I know that I am blessed with the financial position that I'm in to have the cash for the additional down payment on the truck, and of course the trade-in and the this and the that. I get that. But really the point in me making this video is to say, one, it's probably not as bad as you think as far as financing, assuming that you have your financing shit, i.e. credit score, in order. But number two is, you know, even if you put down half that, right? You know, you're sitting at, let's call it $350, $400 a month. That's not too much worse than if you were to go out and buy a F-150 or a truck that on paper isn't as high of a trim level, but for one reason or another just demands a higher cost. This truck is in the same category. You know, I've got buddies that drive the big diesels. I've got buddies that drive Raptors. I've got buddies that drive all this random stuff. And what it boils down to is, as long as you're smart with your financing, assuming that you're financing, you're gonna be okay. Insurance, not a problem. Maybe if you have a horrible driving history, but in my opinion, if you have a horrible driving history, don't buy an expensive car, truck, SUV, whatever, right? Just gonna keep it in the shop, and you're just gonna be paying a monthly payment for something that you don't get to drive because you didn't drive it well, I guess. So anyway, that's really the gist of it, guys. It's not, I was shocked. Like I said, when I saw the sticker price on this truck, now granted, it was used, it only had 5,000 miles on it, but a lot of the depreciation had already hit. So it's not like I'm gonna take a huge loss on the truck when I drive off the lot. I mean, sure, it depreciates a little bit more, but that's all vehicles, right? That's not a new concept. But if you're able to find that perfect truck, preferably lightly used, you're not buying it sticker, you're not buying it, you know, full custom build from Ford or anything like that, you can get into a truck like this pretty easily. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a lot of money. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the best financial decision you could make, but if you have the ability to do it, go out and enjoy your vehicle. You know, a lot of people take the approach of, well, my car, my truck just gets me from point A to point B. And in a lot of ways, that's true. But my approach is, yeah, sure, it takes me from point A to point B. And no, we're not gonna set any land speed records or get, I don't know, paid for how cool we look driving this or that or whatever. But you need to be able to enjoy what you're actually driving, in my opinion. And I don't care who you are. If you get into your car every day and it's just, it doesn't fit what you're looking for, or doesn't give you the creature comforts that you're, you know, accustomed to or whatever, it's just gonna be a miserable ass drive. And as I've said before, my wife and I primarily use this truck, one, just daily driving back and forth from work, but the reason we want a truck outside of towing and hauling stuff is road trips. And this truck is perfect for road trips. And any F-150 of this year, not even this trim level, if we were gonna spend the money and buy used, it's an additional X amount of money over the course of whatever the loan term is. And as far as your monthly cost is concerned, not that much of an increase. I think that's one thing that people forget is if you have a loan on something, it's like buying a house, you know, oh, our budget's $300,000. Well, if you go up to $350,000 over a 30-year fixed mortgage, the difference in pricing there is not a lot at all. So go ahead, if that $350,000 house is the one for you, don't shy away from an extra $40 a month, as far as I see it. I am not a financial expert whatsoever, but I do believe that I'm halfway decent with money, so take it as you will. Don't know. Maybe it helps you, maybe it hurts you. I don't know, but that's the approach that I took. So guys, anyway, I am going to end the video here. If you have any questions on the Raptor as far as the financing or buying options, please drop some comments down below. As I said before, if this video helps you in any way, shape, or form, drop a big fat like down below. And as always, guys, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. Until next time, peace.